Reverend Cora here with one last day of a devotional for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this time of reflecting on some of our stances on caring for creation, and perhaps that's made you think about how we can live this out better in our own lives. If this is the first video you're watching, I encourage you to go back to Monday's video where I explain our United Methodist social principles. But I do want to review our questions again so we know what we're listening for. So the first question I have is, after we hear this social principle, where do you fall? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Are you somewhere in the middle? Secondly, is there a scripture? Is there a hymn? Is there something in our Christian tradition that you see supporting this policy? Third, where are we following this? As a local church, as a global church, what are we doing about this? Is it just words? And lastly, how could we do better? So, today's policy is around water, air, soil, minerals, and plants. It's a little long, so I'm just going to read you a chunk. But I'd encourage you to go find this online to review the social principles we've talked about this week, and also others that I didn't fit into these days. So here a portion now of this social principle. We support and encourage social policies that serve to reduce and control the creation of industrial byproducts and waste, facilitate the safe processing and disposal of toxic and nuclear waste, and move towards the elimination of both. Encourage reduction of municipal waste, provide for appropriate recycling and disposal of municipal waste, and assist the cleanup of polluted air, water, and soil. I'm going to stop at that point. So I think those few sentences give us still a lot to talk about. How do you feel about them? Do you agree? Do you disagree? When I read these sentences, I think this is, again, a place where you're not going to open the Bible and find a scripture verse that just is super easy to pull out. But I hear in it care for our neighbors, care for the land that they're living on, working in. I also hear in it a call to eliminate toxic things that lead to death and destruction. And I hear in this Genesis's vision of being good stewards of our land, of having dominion, which meant responsibility. Not that we have all power, but that we take care of things well. So that's what's coming to mind for me. What's coming to mind for you? How are we living into this? Well, something that I think Waterford Central UMC does super well is all our recycle bins, right? I've never been in another church that has so many different designations of things to recycle, to make sure we're not putting waste into our earth that could get reused. Styrofoam, ink cartridges, cardboard, all of these things we have valued disposing of them as best as possible. What else can you think of? Our last question is, how could we do better? I know for me personally, I'm thinking a lot about, as I do ministry, how many of my supplies are going to end up in a trash can, right? During the pandemic, there's been a temptation to stay in touch with children and youth through little gift bags, goodie bags, and I think a lot about, are the things I'm putting in here helping add to people's faith, or is it just eventually going to be, in a landfill, adding to all this waste, and trying to balance that as best I can. I'm curious what you are doing and what we could do better as a church, locally and globally. So that finishes our devotionals for this week, these 5 social principles I've picked out, but there are so many in our United Methodist Book of Discipline that you can find online. Again, as I said in Monday's video, we have principles about the economy, about human life, about how we're to live with one another, and I find them really fascinating. So I encourage you to take a look, not just to finish reading today's principle that I only read a small portion of, but check out some of the others. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. All right, have a great day, friends.